Today we're looking at the Hbada X7 Smart Ergonomic Chair, which is Hbada's flagship premium model and honestly one of the most technologically advanced office chairs I've ever tested. Coming in at $1,300, this is definitely a significant step up from Hbada's typical E3 series price range of $400 to $700, but it's packed with features that I genuinely haven't seen in any other chair. Now the big selling point here is what they call fully automated lumbar tracking. Basically, the chair uses sensors to automatically adjust the lumbar support based on your posture without you having to do anything. And on top of that, you get built-in massage, heating, and cooling, and a bunch of other cool features. In this video, I'll be giving you my full review of the Hbada X7, going over everything you need to know to help you decide if this chair is going to be worth the premium price. But before we get started, I just want to say that Hbada did send me this chair for free to test and review, but this video is not sponsored. They didn't pay me to say anything good or bad about the chair, and all opinions you're going to hear are completely my own. So with that out of the way, let's dive right into the review to see if Hbada's smart chair technology actually lives up to the hype. Starting with the design, the X7 has a clean, modern aesthetic with an all-mesh construction that looks professional and would fit nicely in pretty much any office setting. Now, if you're familiar with Hbada's E3 series, you'll recognize the overall design language here. It's clearly from the same family, but with a much more premium execution. Now, all mesh chairs tend to look pretty similar to each other, but I think Hbada has done a good job making their chairs stand out with the E3 series and now with the X7. The overall aesthetic strikes a nice balance between professional and cutting edge. It's not so flashy that it would look out of place in a traditional office, but it's clearly a premium piece of furniture. The build quality on the X7 is really good. The aluminum frame is rock solid, and all adjustment mechanisms feel smooth and well engineered. Everything has a premium feel to it that you can immediately notice when you sit down. The mesh quality is also high end. It's a clear step up from what you would see on Hbada's lower end chairs like the Hbada E3 Air. It has excellent elasticity and a much softer feel to it. The frame components also feel really substantial and well engineered. I haven't noticed any creaking or wobbling in the month that I've been using it, which is pretty impressive given all the electronic components and moving parts built into this chair. Now, my only issue in terms of build quality is with the rattly headrest. That is a separate component that you actually attach on, but we'll get more into that later in the review. So now let's talk about the actual comfort of the chair, starting with the seat. Now, the mesh seat is really well executed in my opinion. The mesh has good elasticity and proper tensioning. It's not too loose to where you sink right through, but also not so tight that it makes it feel too firm. One thing I really appreciate is that Hbada continues their approach from the E3 series of not using a foam pad in the front of the seat. A lot of mesh chairs have this foam cushion that's supposed to protect your legs from the frame, but it often creates an uncomfortable creasing effect when you sit down. The X7 avoids this problem entirely, just like the E3 series models do, and in my opinion, it makes these mesh seats very comfortable. The mesh material holds its shape really well throughout long sitting sessions and provides consistent support. The seat depth is also adjustable, which helps accommodate different leg lengths, and the waterfall front edge design reduces pressure on the back of your legs. Now, if you're someone who tends to sit cross-legged, then you'll still run into the limitation of the hard plastic frame around the edges digging into your ankles, but that's kind of just the nature of mesh seats in general. But for traditional upright sitting, this is one of the more comfortable mesh seats that I've tested. And like all mesh seats, the breathability is excellent. This pairs really nicely with the ventilation fans because the holes in the mesh allow the air to pass through it easily, so you can really feel it. So if you're someone who tends to run hot when you're sitting in the chair, then you'll really like the X7. Now, when it comes to the backrest, this is where the X7 really sets itself apart, and honestly, it's pretty impressive. So let's just jump right into what really makes this chair unique, which are the tech features found in the lumbar support. Now, when you first sit down, the chair takes a few seconds to sense your weight and posture, and then the lumbar support automatically adjusts to match your lower back curve. There are 10 different intensity levels, and you can feel it making micro adjustments throughout the day as you shift positions. The goal of this system is to essentially remove the need to constantly adjust your chair as you shift around throughout the day. Instead, the X7 will just adapt to your posture in real time. The chair also has a smart memory feature, so it remembers your settings and automatically readjusts when you sit down. Now, in terms of how well it performs in practice, I found that it did take a bit of fine-tuning in terms of the sensitivity to get it right. Now, when I first started using it, the issue I had was that the sensitivity was set in a way where as soon as I would lean back into the lumbar support, it would retract. This basically meant I had no support because it would just immediately give in as soon as I put any pressure on it, and then come back up if I sat forward in the chair. But after adjusting the sensitivity on the remote, I got it to a point where it would comfortably adjust on its own depending on how I was sitting, and it got much better. Now, if you don't want the chair to automatically adjust, you can actually set it to manual adjustment and dial it in exactly how you want. With the 10 different sensitivity settings, you have a huge range of motion, so you can really fine-tune it to how you want it. Now let's move on to the heating and massage features. Now these are also located in the lumbar support area and are meant to complement each other. Keep in mind, it is not a heated seat like some other office and gaming chair options. The massage feature on the X7 is actually pretty good. I'm used to massage features on chairs being pretty useless, like in gaming chairs where it's just a vibration feature, but the X7 uses what they call 8D hand massage technology, and you can really feel it working on your lower back muscles. Now, this is not just a vibration, they're actual physical mechanisms used to massage your lower back. Now, when it comes to the heating function, it uses red light therapy and graphene heating. Now, I'm not too sure about all the therapeutic claims, but it does provide nice, even warmth across your entire lower back, which feels great during long work sessions, and I'm sure you'll find this feature really handy during the winter seasons. Overall, I found it really comfortable, and the heating and massage features work together really nicely. When it comes to the actual adjustability of the backrest itself, similar to the E3 series of chairs, you can adjust the upper backrest and lumbar support sections of the chair independently. This is something that's pretty unique to the Hbada chairs, and it really lets you dial it in so it's the perfect fit. You can set the lumbar support to hit you in the perfect sweet spot while setting the upper portion to properly support your upper back and shoulders. Now, when you compare this to most other mesh office chairs that have a back height adjustment, they use a ratcheting height adjustment system where the entire backrest moves up as one piece, so it's nice having the extra flexibility with the X7. Overall, the backrest is pretty comfortable in my opinion. The mesh feels good and really high quality. It's really soft with excellent elasticity. One thing to keep in mind though is that the lumbar support is pretty pronounced, and similar to the E3 series of chairs, the X7 has a design with these foam padded flaps. This gives the lumbar support a pretty snug hugging feeling around your lower back. It feels really supportive, but some people might not like the tight hugging feeling, especially if you have a wider frame. When it comes to the recline mechanism itself is smooth and goes back 140 degrees. It has an auto balancing system that uses your own weight to provide appropriate resistance, so reclining feels effortless and natural. This weight activated system works well for most situations, though I do sometimes miss having manual control over the tilt tension for specific use cases. Hbada uses the same auto gravity sensing system on all of their E3 series of chairs as well. Now overall it is pretty good, but I do find it hard to use the chair in a partially reclined position because once you recline back past a certain point, it'll just go all the way back. Now since I'm someone who's really particular about my tilt tension, I would definitely prefer it if you had a dedicated tilt tension knob to be able to fine tune it to your specific preferences. You can, however, lock the chair in multiple recline positions, which is great for when you kind of just want to kick back and take a break and watch some shows. Now another thing I noticed when reclining in this chair is that when you lean all the way back, the lumbar support kind of rides up your back a little bit and lands in an awkward spot. Now I found that this can be uncomfortable sometimes because the shape is curved to support your lower back, so it can dig into your upper back when you're reclining. This will obviously depend on your height though. If you're taller, you probably won't run into this issue, but I'm on the shorter end at 5'6", so I did notice this when reclining all the way back. When it comes to the headrest, this is what Hbada calls their 4D dual axis neck pillow, and it's a pretty decent headrest in terms of adjustments, though it's definitely not perfect. You get two separate pivot point adjustments, height adjustment, and an independent depth adjustment, so you have a ton of options in terms of how you want to dial it in. The range of motion on these adjustments is also really good. It works well whether you're tall or shorter, and it supports your neck properly in both upright and recline positions. The headrest is wide enough so that you don't have to worry about hitting the hard frame, and it uses the same high quality mesh as the rest of the chair, so it's soft and comfortable to rest your head on. And I didn't have any issues with it tugging on your hair, which can be a common issue on some mesh headrests. Now, my biggest issue with this headrest is that it is pretty wobbly. You can just see how much movement there is even when I'm just lightly wiggling it around. And you do kind of feel some of this movement when you initially rest your head on it or when you're kind of shifting around. Now, it's not as bad when you're putting pressure on it, but it's still noticeable. I'm also not a fan of how it's mounted onto the chair. You can see the way that it clamps onto the frame of the chair, that it goes right over the mesh on the front of the chair. I really don't like this design because it could potentially wear out the mesh over time. That said, overall, it's a decent headrest. It's pretty comfortable and you get a ton of adjustability. I just wish it was a little bit more stable since this is a $1,300 chair. At this price point, I would definitely expect it to have the same stability as the rest of the components of the chair. The armrests on the Hbada X7 are really good. These are some of the most adjustable armrests I've seen on an office chair. You get height adjustment, depth adjustment, and both the arms and arm pads have 360-degree rotation plus an upward tilt feature. The range of motion on each adjustment is really good, and between all the different adjustment points, you can pretty much position the armrests in any way you can think of. You can even rotate them completely out of the way when you're not using them. The upward tilt is particularly useful for properly positioning your arms if you're using a mobile device or controller. Really, my only gripe with these armrests is that I wish they would go a little bit lower. They're just a bit too high for me, even in the lowest setting. However, if you don't want to use the arms, you can just swivel them out of the way. When it comes to the arm pads themselves, they're also really good. They're really thick and have good softness to them, so you can really dig your elbows into them without any discomfort at all. I also like their shape. They're nice and flat on the top so you don't slip off, and have rounded edges so they don't dig into the sides of your arms. Overall, I really like these armrests. They're comfortable and the adjustability is amazing. Now, coming in at $1,300, the Hbada X7 is positioned as a high-end ergonomic chair, and you're definitely paying a significant premium for all the smart technology. The question is, are those features actually worth it? Now, if you're someone who struggles with back pain or spends 8+ hours a day at your desk, then the automated lumbar tracking, heating, and massage features could genuinely make a difference in your comfort and health. As someone who has struggled with lower back pain for most of my life, I do find the heating and massage features really useful. Also, I know a lot of people tend to run hot when they sit, so if that's you, then the built-in fans could be a game changer. However, if you're happy with manual adjustments and don't need the smart features, there are probably better value options in the $500 to $700 range that will give you excellent ergonomics without the premium price tag. Hbada's own E3 series is a perfect example. You get very similar design, build quality, and ergonomic features, just without all the smart technology. The Hbada X7 comes with a 3-year warranty, which is really short for a chair at this price point. When you're spending over $1,000 on a chair, you expect warranty coverage that matches that investment. At this price point, you're competing against some of the major brands like Herman Miller, Steelcase, and Hayworth, who offer 12-year warranties, so this is definitely something you're going to need to keep in mind. Now, those chairs may not have the smart features that the X7 has, but they have a really good track record and decades of proven durability. That said, if you think these smart features would genuinely improve your work experience, then the X7 does bring something unique to the table that you literally can't get anywhere else in the market right now. So if you're interested in checking out the Hbada X7, I'll have links to it down in the description.